Hello, YouTube, and hello, Professor Evans. And today, we talk about the history of fitness and nutrition. I wanted to bring this subject up and actually talk about it because it's one of my passions, and pretty much would like to be doing it for the rest of my life. Teach people about health and fitness. Let's get right into it. Before we get into this, it's gonna seem like we're talking about military history, but it's gonna be mostly about military training exercises. The reason why is because most of what was recorded throughout history is all based on the military until you get more civilized. Of course, when civilians are doing their own type of exercises and sporting events. So I'm pretty much gonna be starting, and it's gonna be like a timeline, starting with Neanderthals all the way down to the Ottoman Empire. Then conclusion, pretty much just summing everything up and why is it important to us today. It lived between 300,000 40,000 years ago. Had a very wide hip, wide shoulders, short base. The average weight was around 140 to 180 pounds. 100 pounds. Their height was very short and stocky, which made them optimal for cold temperatures such as Ice Age. So they're very good at hunting, great. They're runners, and mostly for foraging. Foraging was after the Ice Age, but pretty much their activities are based on survival, hunting large animals, and pretty much just surviving. Their diet was very mostly meat, especially during the Ice Age, and in severe cases they resulted in cannibalism of their own groups. As after the Ice Age, they started eating more vegetables. You see here, they started foraging for fruits and vegetables, and also they became innovative at times for fishing, such as eating seals and dolphins. And pretty much their diet depended on what was available and that helped them survive. Living for, well, us, we started living probably about 300,000 years ago. Early Homo sapiens were robust since they evolved from Neanderthals, and we became more atomically modern after the Ice Age. Of course, because of our height and our innovation of creating spears, that type of stuff, and running and building, we excel over Neanderthals. And pretty much our sole purpose of all these activities was pretty much survive and build civilization and support communities. Our diet was, again, mostly protein-based carnivorous diet, especially during the Ice Age. We ate large mammals such as the mammoth and the wild beast. And after the Ice Age, as we became more creative for foraging, we learned how to farm, build spears, to hunt animals, which pretty much predominantly led to the extinction of mammoth. And yeah, we pretty much get a more balanced, wholesome diet after the Ice Age. It was the first Persian Empire that excelled between 550 BC and 300 BCE. As far as their military training goes, it was very arduous, especially beginning at a young age. These companies of young boys consisted of 50 kids. One of the main exercises I saw was, not excited, but like one of the training that was very rigorous was the marches. They marched pretty much these kids into the desert. Ranges up to 110 degree weather temperatures, and the distance was pretty much 20 to 50 miles, which is very intense. And their sole purpose of the training was pretty much to teach the boys preparation for war, teach them how to fight, and teach them how to withstand pain. Marching long distances to other nearby countries and empires to take over. So pretty much the long distance they traveled, they got used to marching for long distances and attacking the same day. And not much is known about the Persian diet, but certain parts of the Babylonian tablets are known. We can find that their diet was very Middle Eastern based. They ate no cattle whatsoever. They ate a lot of bread and baked dough, and they made broth and meat pies made of lamb, seasoned with vinegar, vegetables, salt, and greens. And yeah, so as you can see here, they ate broth and bread. That's what most of their diet consisted of. Very high fat and high carb type of diet. Empire, which thrived between 431 BC and 146 BC. As you see in the movie 300, they're very well known for their courageous soldiers and very skilled combatants. As far as their military training and their exercising, it began at age 7. Pretty much every male Spartan was supposed to be put into military service. So the boys were sent to AGOG, pretty much Spartan schools. But the boys are trained to become vicious men like Terminators. I mean, not exactly like Terminators, but you slap one in the face, they'll probably laugh at you. But they're pretty much taught wrestling, boxing, pretty much how to fight in war, and they're subject to violent competitions every day, like boxing each other, wrestling each other, fighting, hitting each other with sticks, that type of stuff. So it was a very intense training regimen for these boys. The examples, as you can see, of what the Spartans did is nothing. I mean, of course, it's just like pipsqueak compared to what he did. But of course, when it came to boxing, they'll box other Spartans or other trainers. No gloves or anything, no protection, and they calisthenics, like push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, that type of stuff. So this is pretty much their fitness is what made them excel over other empires and their Athenian counterparts. So the Spartan diet, the Spartan boys didn't really have a great diet at all. They're fed barley bread scarcely. As you can see here, it was probably an eighth of what you see on this picture. And for those Spartans that already went through their AGOG training and are already in the military, they ate much more better. As for example, they ate black broth made from blood and pig leg, vinegar and greens, which is probably why they're such in great shape. All the iron and protein they get from this black broth, even though it looks kind of disgusting. And the mass feast consisted of sausages and meat, as you can see here. So yeah, it was predominantly as you got older, you ate better and you had a very much more wholesome, high protein, high iron meal, which is probably why it has such great physiques. 330 BC and 476 AD. Not only did the military train, but also civilians trained in gymnastics, wrestling, swimming, which pretty much led to what it is the Olympic Games today. And military training consisted of swimming, and they trained with much heavier weapons. Where if they actually get into battle, they're able to maneuver better and use their weapons better in battle. And Roman civilians they engage in wrestling and boxing, which is what we see today. So yeah, it was a very diverse civilization where pretty much everyone was doing something and doing activities. Here we got an example of Greco-Roman wrestling. You see this in NCAA, high school wrestling. Pretty much it's the main goal is to get the opponent on the ground and make the opponent submit. So you can see here it's a very cool sport. It's fun. The typical Roman diet for soldiers, it was very inadequate for their daily activities. So it consists of barley and wheat. As far as Roman civilians, they ate relatively well. It's kind of balanced. Not that much meat, but it's based on bread, cheese, and bacon and vegetables. It was a very high fat, high carb diet, lacking some proteins, so it wasn't very adequate for the people. Mayan Empire, which thrived between 330 AD and 900 AD, they inhabited the areas of Mexico and North Guatemala. Their main training was pretty much to catch rival tribesmen to sacrifice to their gods. They believed shedding blood was part of what their gods wanted, and their training was based on stamina, just long distance running, mock battles, and archery, pretty much just to conquer whatever nearby tribes of their empire. And they're able to travel long distances, and at the same day, after traveling probably 20-30 miles, they're able to attack their targeted tribes. And their diet, you could say their diet was more like a wholesome vegan type of diet. They ate a lot of vegetables such as beans, maize, corn, you could say, nuts, avocados, and a lot of nuts. And they ate a lot of cocoa, which is considered delicacy around the Mayan elites. And you can kind of see some of the things that they drank at the time, such as horchata, or in Nicaraguan countries they call it cacao. Now, occasionally they ate duck, turkey, and deer, but it's in cases rare. And we can find also that they use cattle for farming and transporting in tilly land instead of actually eating them. Empire, which is pretty much a continuation of the Roman Empire, which excelled between 330 and 1453. their training consisted mostly of training during marches, like rucksacking. They made them carry a lot of weight, and again, Byzantine Empire trained with much heavier equipment, so when they actually went into war, it's easier for them to maneuver. And they did a lot of exclamation on hunting, so they're big on hunting also. And you can see here that they're also very big on javelin throwing. What's the diet? Their diet is a little bit more diverse than the Roman counterparts. Um, Even though it was high in carbohydrates, the soldiers actually ate a lot better than the Roman soldiers. They're always given a pension of food, and usually with their high carbohydrate diet, they added cheese to what they ate, and they also ate no meat, no beef whatsoever. It was all lamb and pork, and occasionally with their meals they would add salads with poultry meat. They would eat poultry meat, but no beef whatsoever. So yeah, it was a very high carb diet with very few protein and high fat consumption. Empire ruled pretty much entirely China between 6 and 1405. Of course, starting with Genghis Khan, and of course going down to the sons of grandson. The military training was dependent on the region. Of course, different tribes that were conquered, they trained differently, but for the most part, they were trained on archery, traveling long distance, and horse riding. And they were big on horse riding and archery because whenever they traveled across China, they would switch horses to make sure that the horses were, well rested before they actually got rode on. And overall, the training was emphasizing discipline and not overly harsh conditions such as the Byzantines or the Spartans. Their diet was very high fat, pretty much consisting of mostly just cheese, yogurt, creams, and milks and butters. Also, you could see their alcoholic beverages was a kummis, or pretty much just fermented milk from a donkey, and usually it was like at 3%, so they drank a lot of this pretty much just to get the buzzed effect. So you can imagine how much fat they ate. And of course, when they're traveling and didn't have any milk accessible, then they would just forage for vegetables, fruits, and mushrooms wherever was available in the land they conquered to eat. So yeah, that's what they most. 100, you can see that the Ottoman Empire ruled most of northern Arabia and Egypt from 1453 to 1923. Pretty much by the end of World War I, they were completely demolished. But fitness was very important to this empire from the time they started to the time that they were defeated. Most of the training was in preparation of war. They did a lot of marching, hand-to-hand combat, as you can see, and they simulated battles. And the military training, as you can see in this picture, this is a military training school, the Ottoman Empire in 1914, with mostly the Turkish part. And you can see that they train a lot in calisthenics, sword fighting, and yeah, pretty much just body strength exercises. Pretty much what we saw back when the Spartans were doing. Sex that they did, for example, they did dips, as you saw in the previous picture. They actually had a dip bar in the 1900s, which has been around for a while, and they had like monkey bars too. So here you can see like they did things that trained their chest, their triceps, their arms, and they're very maneuverable in monkey bars where they're able to train their lower abs like this, which is not even compared to what they do, but they were very, very athletic and very, very fit, which was part of why they flourished in northern Arabia for so long, able to hold the location until the creation of modern weapons like artillery and guns and airplanes. So yeah, one of the main reasons why they flourished. Consisted of mostly vegetables, so pretty much a basic Middle Eastern diet. They ate no beef. That was a high carb type of diet. Rice, bread, and they ate lamb. Sometimes lamb with bread and vegetables, but again, no beef. It was very Muslim based, and yeah, so it was a predominantly very good diet. It provided them a lot of energy and actually part of the build to why there were such great soldiers and great fighters that defended their country. So after babbling my mouth, what can we take from all this? So pretty much how the history of the military and how they trained their soldiers. Not just that, but what we've seen in the Roman Empire, the Spartans training, and the Ottoman Empire, their emphasis on physique, pretty much teaches what's best to build the soldier today. What's fit for to support them in battle. What's healthy for them to keep our defenders healthy and ready for battle. And the sports that exist today, we can find that since Romans and Spartans, wrestling exists today, boxing, javelin throwing, the Olympic Games pretty much was based off the Romans and what the Spartans did, which is pretty interesting. And it pretty much comes down to why does all this matter? Pretty much from what we see in the past civilization empires that trained their military men, we could find out what works best in dieting and what's best, like I said, for our soldiers to defend our country. Not just our country itself, but like around the world. We could see that if a high carbohydrate, high fat diet could affect someone's health, and where the soldiers can fight and be able to withstand the conditions of war. So yeah, this is very important to know, because if we don't know what works best to keep not only to keep the soldiers healthy, but to keep us healthy and what's best for us. And looking back in history, we can understand a little bit more what exercises work and what diet and healthy way eating is best for us. Great, you guys taking your time to listen to me, and hopefully you guys learned something from this presentation. And of course, the music's by my favorite artist, Dead Mouse Facts in Berlin. References I took from for this lecture I gave. All right, thank you, and you guys have a good day or good night.